Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. What are we talking about?
We are talking about the middle run of WandaVision, and that would be episodes 5, 6, and 7.
Episodes 5, 6, and 7 of the Disney Plus series WandaVision.
Yes.
Starring
Elizabeth
Wanda Maximoff.
Yes.
And Visionoff.
It's funny. I saw on Twitter today a lot of people had no idea that Elizabeth Olsen was a Olsen twin sister.
Well, she doesn't look like a gremlin. That's why.
Well,
my apologies to the Olsen.
That is true. Yes. Yeah. Elizabeth Olsen is very, very traditionally pretty, and the Olsen twins are more quirky.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's weird. I never liked Family Ties, and I always Ties.
It was Full House.
Yeah, Full House, and I never really got the appeal of the Olsen twins. I thought their acting was like terrible. And
they were like babies on that show.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like.
And they were playing one person. It was always bizarre.
Yeah.
Like they got big outside the show. Like it was revealed. Like I don't know. Like after a couple of years, the show was on. People realized that there was like two people playing Michelle.
Right.
And I was up to WandaVision. Don't worry about it. But and then like it became this weird thing because a lot of shows, especially after like the 80s, anytime you had a baby or anything, it was usually they would use twins so they can swap them out.
Right.
They usually had twins play characters up to a certain age, and then after like the age of 4 or 5, they don't need to do twins anymore. It's usually like babies. And Michelle was on as a baby, also.
Yeah.
And then they realized there was two people, and it was always really bizarre. I remember watching as a kid, they would do like these weird episodes where it would reveal, like where they would be able to get the other one on by introducing a new character. Like do these weird like like strange stuff to like get the two of them on together on screen.
Funny.
And there was a weird thing like in the episode when Bob Saget accidentally got water on Michelle.
Yeah, right.
And she, started screaming and a bowl shot out of her, and it was another.
It was very cute. It was very cute.
And that's when an old wise Asian man showed up and revealed the rules of Michelle.
Right.
Don't eat after midnight. Keep him away from Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And lots of rules that were broken. All of them are broken.
Yeah,
right. Why we now have basically a world of like just millions of Olsen twins just everywhere.
People were very surprised to hear that one of those balls of fur that popped off the Olsen twins was Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda, and
she would be considered like the brainy gremlin, or the brainy / like the hot gremlin too, and Gremlins 2. I'm talking about the one made out of vegetables, of course.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was talking about the one that was electricity. That thing was hot. Don't touch it.
Well, she's been in a bunch of movies. None of them like really great. I mean, I guess Old Boy was kind of a well-respected movie, I guess, but she's an odd one. It's funny that we're talking about these old shows. Do you know who the guy who's executive produced and directed all of these episodes? His name is Matt Shackman, I think.
Yeah, is he the guy who did the OC?
That was someone else, I believe. And I would know the name if I heard it. But this kid was a child actor, and he was in a ton of those old shows. He was in like episodes of Growing Pains. Different Strokes, Facts of Life, Highway to Heaven,
Wow.
Night Court, Webster. He was in a bunch of these old shows, and it's kind of funny now because a lot of this show is an homage to those older shows. Yeah,
I know that name, and it's like he's done like I'm looking at it. He's done like Sunny Philadelphia, Game of Thrones episodes, Fargo. But like I feel like he's famous for like having being like a showrunner or something. You know, like
I don't. Gosh, he may be. I don't think that's the case, but he's clearly like, look, if you told me anybody, like a third stringer from Webster, made it big in Hollywood and was directing like entire runs of Disney shows, I wouldn't have believed it. But like this guy defied all the odds.
He's not just some guy directing like, you know, an episode of Full House. This guy directed. His credits include Succession, Mad Men, 6 Feet Under, The Boys, which. Yep. A great House MD, Fargo, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, some of these are just like shows, but when you start getting to shows like The Boys, you're basically making a movie at that point. You're a movie director. Like, have you seen The Boys at all?
Yeah, I watched most of the first season.
All right. Come back to me when you see all of them. All right, you say you're a fan of The Boys, Joseph.
I never said I was a fan of The Boys.
You're a fan of The Boys. I guess that's a different podcast, different theme, different category.
Jim Jordan's podcast.
Jim Jordan. I was gonna say Jim J. Bullock, but
yeah. Did you see George Clooney's making a movie about the sexual abuse scandal at Ohio State?
No, when I heard that he was making a movie, I didn't read the full thing. And it is the Jim Jordan one. That's so funny. That's not funny. I mean, it's awful, but it's funny because that guy's an asshole.
I don't know who they're going to get to play Jim Jordan, but
they should get the guy. You remember you ever seen the show? What was it, Last Man on Earth?
Yeah.
Will Forte.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing Jim Jordan. But the problem with him is like he would. Humanize him just for he always plays like these like goofy, like they almost come off like a little harmless in the end.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
No.
He's a raging piece of shit. So
it's
gonna be a tough one. I don't know who. Maybe they'll just get like a bottle of glue or something. Like an inanimate object, you know, like a
like a Brillo pad with broken glass in it or something like that.
Yeah, something. But yeah, this guy he's done, but I was just like, I know the name.
Well, Josh Schwartz is the OC guy. So that was not him, but the guy's got like, if you look up his IMDb or his Wikipedia, he's got a ton of shows under his belt. And some of them, I'm sure he just did an episode or two, but, a lot of them are like really, really good.
I mean, you talk about Game of Thrones, you start getting really cinematic. So like this guy's a competent director.
Right.
And so he's the one directing the whole entire series?
Yeah, if you look at there's a bunch of different writers, but he directed every one.
Oh yeah, I see it. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. It says 2021 Shackman directed and executive produced the event series WandaVision. So it actually, I'm kind of glad that, I know Mandalorian had like different directors, and that's fine because it's like there's different plots and different storylines that like, they're telling like a series that kind of leads into each other, but each episode is made to like kind of exist on their own in a way.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
This show, honestly, let's be honest, it's not it's really just a long movie.
Yeah.
Divided into parts, but it's done well enough that like, because each episode kind of takes on a decade of television in itself, that it makes it feel like you're watching really individual episodes. It makes it easy to divide into a series.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm glad that, some people are like, I want to see different directors with different visions, but I'm like, for this one, I want to see one cohesive story. I want it to make sense from the beginning to the end, and that there's no fucking because I don't think they're gonna make a WandaVision 2 season 2. If they do make it, I could see them doing another series because it's so popular. They'll do another series with Wanda and Vision, but the plot and everything is gonna be completely different. And who knows what's gonna what they're gonna do with these characters? You know, she's supposed to show. We don't know how this show's gonna end. She's supposed to show up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
I think she's supposed to have a prominent role in that, unless something changed. So we don't know what's going to happen with this character. Like, you know, we got Falcon the Winter Soldier coming out soon.
Yeah.
We got Loki coming out soon, and they announced all these other shows like She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight. There's a whole ton of stuff. But I feel like I feel like some of those shows probably are made to have seasons in them, because like we never saw She-Hulk in any of the movies. We never saw Moon Knight in any of the movies, and Miss Marvel, we never like Miss Marvel will show up in Captain Marvel too, supposedly. The girl that's in Miss Marvel. But like Wanda is part of the Avengers, and she's been in multiple Avengers movies already, and Civil War, Captain America. So it's like an interesting, it's a little different with this one because it's like she's like more like a movie actress too.
Certainly, yeah.
So I'm curious what they'll do. I can't see them. They can't really redo it. They can't do a season 2 of this, and it'll just be completely different. Is what I'm saying. Like,
I agree. I'd love a season 2 of this. I'd love a season 2 of these characters, but it's not going to be this show. You know, this was like,
you can't redo it again.
No,
it's so weird and done well, and like it's best to like just come up with a different plot altogether.
You know, it's what you're saying about the show is really true, though. Someone on Twitter, I think it was Summer Brennan, on Twitter was saying like, "Hey, can I jump in and watch WandaVision even if I don't know much about the Marvel universe?" And I think you can. I think you could know nothing about any of these characters and watch an episode and appreciate it for like, oh, this is an homage of that type of show from that decade. You know, and enjoy it on a purely pop cultural level. But you definitely
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you definitely get a deeper experience if you know at least a little bit of the lore. You know.
Well, what's great about it all being on Disney Plus and being owned by one conglomerate, is that because they have all the content on there now. They have all the Marvel movies on there now. And I noticed that in the end of each episode, it will lead to obviously, if you watch an episode when it premieres, they don't have another episode for it to lead into. So Disney Plus leads you right into Age of Ultron. Watch Age of Ultron. So I mean, I think if you like WandaVision, it is definitely worth watching Age of Ultron.
Right.
Captain America: Civil War. Because that's when the real plot, that's where like the love interest, between Vision, the romance between Vision and Wanda Maximoff starts.
Yeah.
It's really that movie. They don't interact really in Ultron, even though she was kind of eyeing him.
Right. Yeah.
Like when they were building him, she was like, ooh. Bow, bow, bow. It's like
right, yeah.
They play. Her auga, and then Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah. I mean, that's really. I mean, honestly, that's all you really need to watch to like get the. I mean, it seems like a lot to watch, but you don't need to watch every Marvel movie. But now here's the funny part: Darcy's in it. I don't know if you need to sit through Thor 1 and 2 to really. It doesn't matter. You don't need to watch Thor 1 and 2 to appreciate it. She doesn't show up in Thor 3 because the movie was good. Her
character is what it is. I mean, she's the quirky, manic pixie scientist.
They did a better job with. She's better in this anyway than she is in Thor 1 and 2. I don't recommend it. Now, if you want to see Agent Woo, he shows up in Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a fun movie. Yeah. Again, it won't ruin WandaVision not to see it, but you get to see him before. So when you watch WandaVision, you see Agent Woo show up. It's kind of, I remember him. He's kind of funny. And you see his like personality quirks. And then I guess Captain Marvel is, you probably should watch Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Well, for this especially. Yeah.
With Monica Rambeau, especially with Sword and like the mom and everything. And
yeah, it's funny you said that because you're right. Probably like when I'm watching this, the movie I like think back on the most is Captain Marvel, to kind of like try to remember like, oh, okay, this was happening. And it's funny, I don't think this would be a good idea at all, but do you remember that Black Mirror episode Bandersnatch, where like it was a choose your own adventure?
Yeah.
And you'd like use your controller to like choose things. I'm almost surprised, given that they own all the content, that Disney hasn't allowed you to like review scenes from other movies.
They supposedly put a series out on Disney Plus. I didn't even, and I could be wrong. I don't know if it's still up. That supposedly just has like highlights, where it's like, oh, I don't want to watch all the movies, but here's like all the important highlights from these movies. Yeah. Supposedly, I could be wrong. I could go into. I don't want to do it.
It's not a terrible. I mean, I think like once you take these things out of context, they kind of lose their meaning. Like if you watch both of the Endgame and Infinity War, then you understand how horrible it is for Wanda that Vision died. And I think if you just watch a clip show, then you're not going to understand how horrible that is for Wanda. You know what I mean?
Well, like, they're a big part of Infinity War. They're not really a big part of Endgame because, well, spoilers. Anyone who's watching this, Vision was killed and Wanda turned into dust. So technically, she was killed too. But she comes back from the dead. She gets blipped back, just like the way they showed Monica Rambeau come back, which was like an amazing sequence in episode 4. Scarlet Witch was also one of them that came back. You know, it's such a great the blip, as good as it is. You don't really know everyone who, like, especially characters like off screen, like Darcy. What was she up to? They could just be like, "Oh, I blipped. I came back." You know, if they want to like just explain things, like, "Oh yeah, I blipped."
You haven't made your student loan payments in 5 years. Yeah, I blipped. I'm like.
Yeah, I like to think there was some loan forgiveness after, but then again, you know, they thought Thanos was a bad guy.
I would like dealing with the loan. That's the series I want to see. Not like Sword or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything. I want to see like a Marvel Universe bureaucratic series where they're just.
I just want one episode of like people, like they could do like almost like a good 40-minute show of just like. Like what was that movie? Fuck, what was his name? He ended up supposedly. Oh wait, no, he was never in that movie. I always thought the guy who played the old man in the first Jurassic Park was a famous director.
Oh, Attenborough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, who's the? Oh man, he did like that. There was like that stupid song. Here comes a hot chick. There was like all the models, and then he did.
Like, Porter was the name.
Yeah, of the movie. That director. He made like all these tons of movies. Like, did he do Magnolia? No, he didn't do Magnolia.
That wasn't Robert Altman, was it?
Yeah, Robert Altman's who I'm thinking of, but no, I don't think he did Magnolia. But like those, like where you get like tons of characters and you're telling like little stories, and they all kind of lead into each other.
Yeah, that was Robert Altman. Robert Altman did Porter, and he did Nashville, and he did the one with the earthquake where Chris Penn played like a rapist or something.
Yeah.
So like a Robert Altman type.
Robert Downey Jr. was in that, I thought.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but no, Chris Penn was in that. Yeah, that's a weird scene. Yeah, like almost like a good little fun, like what it was like to be on Earth after the blip, and like you could just have these like kind of just, you know, nothing. They're not superheroes. They're just like, I don't know. I obviously may not be worth doing.
People watching like marginally talented basketball teams because like half the good players are gone, and like
yeah, something like that. You know, or like what happened, and then people just came back. I mean, my God, think of like. That's why I thought WandaVision episode 4 did such a better job. That like Spider-Man played it out to be a joke. It's almost like they just wanted you to forget about it. Like, don't worry about it. Yeah, it was really funny. Everyone came back. But like WandaVision, that one scene in the hospital, like, it was a fucking nightmare, because it would be a fucking nightmare.
It was. I mean, that was, and it's funny. A lot of people did not love episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 is when people started getting a little more into it. 4 was a game changer. And you're right, that was a terrifying scene and probably as close to what that would have been really like, like if that would have happened in a real life situation. And then we have 5, 6, and 7, which is what we're talking about tonight. And episode 5 was called On a Very Special Episode. And it was a weird one. This is the one where the kids start to grow up and they get a dog, and you start seeing a lot more balance between the outside world and the inside world, the world in the hex, which was it kind of perked the show up. And I think a lot of people were losing patience with the entirely homaged episodes, and the sword base on the outskirts of town really got people into it.
Well, I mean, once in the end of, they premiered 1 and 2, and it's kind of funny too, because when you watch the show, you realize by like the first and second episode are short because they're like sitcom length episodes.
Yeah,
they're like classic TV sitcom, so they're only like, they're not even like 25 minutes. And then the third, but like, when she goes out and sees like a little toy helicopter and you see a little sword logo and like, what the fuck is this? Why is it in color? Or when she's talking to Dottie and it breaks and she's like, what the fuck? And Dottie's bleeding and it's red. And then when Vision's like, what's that sound? And they go outside and they see that guy come out of the ground. He's like the beekeeper, and she's like, no. And they rewind back in time. That's when you're like, oh shit. And then episode 3 was really when like stuff starts to really happen and the episode gets like a little longer. But for now, we're like normal length episodes. They're not, it's almost like 1 and 2 really just one episode.
You're right, because episode 5, On a Very Special Episode, was 41 minutes long, which you're right is what an hour-long TV show would probably be once you tack in commercials and stuff like that.
Right.
And this was an odd one. Like this, I liked all these episodes a whole bunch, but this is one where the world gets a little bigger, and it ends on that crazy spoiler, the crazy scene where you get Pietro from the X-Men showing up as her brother, and it was the actor from the X-Men series, not.
And let me just tell you, he's so much better than the guy they got for the Age of Ultron. The guy from Age of Ultron's like okay. He played Kick-Ass. It's kind of funny. Okay. They're both from Kick-Ass. The guy who played, you ever seen those movies, Kick-Ass?
Yeah.
Okay, he's the guy who played Pietro in Age of Ultron, who gets killed in the end.
Right.
He is the guy who plays Kick-Ass. And Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, the current ones.
Yeah.
He played like his best friend in Kick-Ass, the first movie.
Oh, okay.
He's in the second movie. That's why they make a reference in the 6th episode, the Halloween episode, where she says Kick-Ass, and it was just like really funny. Yeah, they were funny. Like, it was like a total homage. But he's just so much better than the other guy. The other guy's like, whatever, it's fine. It's just like, I feel like his character, but he might not. It's interesting because it's like, what the fuck's going on here? Here's the actor who played Pietro in the X-Men movies. And
right.
Everyone's really confused and don't know what's going on. Spoiling episode 5 through 7.
Yes.
So if you watch it, you enjoy the spoilers, but we recommend you watch every episode up until now.
Oh, yeah.
Richer episode of YSGOAT.
Yeah.
To enjoy our content, you have to enjoy their content.
Yes.
We're like a parasite, except we don't make anything off of it. We just do it for the lulls. But if you're listening and you like what you hear, why not become a Patreon member?
Yeah, right. There you go.
The link is in our bio. We're YSGOAT on Patreon. Throw us a buck if you like it. That's it. Yeah, there's nothing else.
Well appreciated.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you. Become a goat. Mega goats.
Mega goats.
Mega goat.
The new Pietro, or the Pietro we see on this show, does seem well, a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. And you said it may not even be Pietro. Like we
I
don't
don't
know.
we don't know if it is because they reveal in the end of the episode. We'll get to that in a minute. But it also could have been just more fun because I love that episode, the Halloween episode, because the whole like late 90s, early 2000s of Malcolm in the Middle. Because that was totally Malcolm in the Middle. Did you ever watch Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, that was actually one of the shows from that time period. I did watch, not all of them, but I watched, and the first few seasons, I watched all of them, I think.
It nailed down Malcolm in the Middle. Like it was like exactly what it was almost. I'm trying to think of like any other shows. It was just like the style. Like that's when they started to do like the one camera, no live audience anymore type shows. That started to become more popular. I love the episode 5. It's like the Family Ties episode. And that's the one when they introduced now the kids just keep growing up. It's like really weird.
Yeah.
And they start with babies and then they grow up and then they get the dog and then they age up to the age of 10. And it's just like, and Scarlet Witch is like, please stop aging.
Yeah.
And then episode 6, it reveals that these kids have powers and they are real characters. I'm assuming they're going to get aged up to at least like
teens.
Probably, late teens. They're characters from the comic called Young Avengers, basically. Yeah. And it was revealed in Young Avengers eventually that the character Mage and Speed, I always forget the guy.
Sure.
It just looks like a ripoff of Quicksilver anyway. Like at least Mage is like more unique of a character. There's Wanda's twins that you thought, we talked about this in the last episode, Wanda's twins who she supposedly fabricated. She made these kids up supposedly.
Yeah.
And I told you there was like that demon that came in, like just absorbed them and like because they weren't real.
It is weird. The twins aging up is like it's not the first sign, but it's one of the first signs of Wanda not having as much control over this world as maybe we originally thought.
Well, we find out that she never had control of this world. Right. Really. Like it's interesting because in the 5th episode, there's a scene where they send another drone in, one that's a little more like an actual, like a more deadlier drone.
Yeah. Like, with a missile.
And Wanda comes out and that's like the only time you get to see her in her Count Duckula voice. Right. And remember Count Duckula?
Yeah.
He was a vegetarian.
Right. Did he eat carrots or something? I remember this.
Ketchup, I think.
Oh God.
But like he, she's like, you'll think you can. I don't know what the fuck. I forgot what she said. This is my world. I have the guns on you.
Well.
My wife.
It's weird. Like I thought, like, okay, when I was watching this show initially, by episode 3 or 4, I thought Wanda was in complete control of everything. I thought she had invented this world to protect herself from the pain she had of watching Vision die. And I thought, I did think she was in complete control. And then she got pregnant, and we saw that episode where the room kept changing and shifting and everything. And she didn't seem to have much control over it. And by this point, by episodes like 5 and 6, it's a little more clear, like something else might be going on. Like Wanda does not have control over it. Maybe she's causing it, but she doesn't have control over it.
Well, there's something else going on too, and it's revealed in the end of episode 7. Episode 7 has like, she's like, kind of, it's interesting. She wakes up, she looks like she's hungover.
Yeah.
And you see her still in her Scarlet Witch outfit. Yep. It's like great scene when she's in the bed, just like still in that outfit. I think it's funny. Like it's funny when we were watching my son didn't really watch the show, but he watched some of episode 6 with me. And he liked the way they looked when they were in the Halloween costumes more than he did like the movies where it's like they're, the colors aren't as bright. Everything's like extra'd out the fucking hell. Like there's certain characters that it's funny in Marvel that you never get to, for some bizarre reason, you just never get to see their real, even anything close to their costume from the show, from the movies or the comic books. Spider-Man, you get to see what he like. They do a really good job ever since Sam Raimi movies of like emulating what Spider-Man looks like in the comic.
Right.
Iron Man, they do an amazing job with that.
Yeah, pretty good.
Clearly. Vision, they do a decent job. I mean, obviously I love the costume. It's supposed to be a luchador, but that is like a loose version of what he like the color. It's more like the color combinations.
Yeah.
But then you get to like, and then like characters, obviously Wolverine, which was never part of the MCU. It was the Fox, but you never got to see him with the fucking mask. You never got to, like, to me, it's like people, it's like, yeah, we've had like Wolverine in like fucking 30 movies on Fox, but like it doesn't 100% feel like we got Wolverine because we never got the cowl.
Right.
It's like having Batman and not the bat ears. It's like, well, yes, it's Batman, sure. It's
or like the first season of Daredevil, like where most of the Daredevil outfit.
That show annoyed. I mean, I think Daredevil was the best out of those shows on Netflix, but it just drove me nuts how they did everything they could to keep him out of that costume. It just like in season 3, he's not even in the costume again. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, season 2 was the best because he had the Punisher and he's in the costume. I'm sorry, it's a superhero show.
Yeah. No, I agree.
The costume looked decent. I thought they did a good job on the costume.
Yeah, it looks
I'll
fine.
fucking wear it. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Paying for
Iron
the suit,
Fist.
right?
Oh, there you go. Iron Fist. The brilliant people who made Iron Fist, they were like, hey, the character just literally wears like a yellow bandana wrapped around his face with the eye holes cut out. Now let's get a guy with a kinky blonde perm instead. It's like, what?
Yeah, that was
just put the fucking. It's like probably the cheapest costume you could make.
Yeah, and it probably would have looked pretty good had they done it right.
They did actually in season 2. They did show that for a bit, like when they show him training in Shaolin or whatever it was.
Yeah.
In a fight, him and this other guy are wearing that mask, and I'm like, why the hell fucking wear that the whole time? It's like you could just say, hey, you want to like not make it so stupid. Just all he has to do is say, this is the traditional mask of the whatever temple that I was trained in. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, right.
It's not some dumb thing. You know, it's like in the Superman Man of Steel. They had to come up with some like bullshit about the costume. Originally in the comics, it was like you found out that Martha Kent, Kent, so the costume and the cape was from his crib when he was like that, the blanket that he arrived in. But the mom sewed the fucking costume. And instead, this one, it's like, well, the S represents a river of hope.
It's hope, yeah. That made no sense.
Shut the fuck up. It's why your name's Superman. Go fly.
Yeah.
But like, in the MCU, you have like, I'm trying to think of like other characters that have never really worn their costumes. Or like, Wanda Maximoff is probably one of the she's one of the characters that they never really gave.
Right, you're right.
And the thing is, like, all right, fine, you don't want her to be in this like silly like this like tight fitting like bikini thing with stockings, but at least do something. Like, give her the cool mask, that thing.
They did that with Magneto, basically. I mean, Magneto had the helmet. You know, I mean, there's like an iconic.
They did an okay job over time making the costume look more like the comic, but they never nailed it down 100%. That's fine, whatever. But they always, even from the first X-Men movie, he got the helmet. The helmet, like you said, the helmet which is the most important part of Magneto, is that recognizable. They got that at least. But like, I always found it interesting that Wanda Maximoff never wore just the mask, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The headpiece or whatever.
Like, that's fine. You don't want her wearing that. It's a little silly. I get it. You know, it's like a look at like old issues, and it's like it's a little. It doesn't make sense for like a serious person.
Well, see, speaking of that scene where Wanda woke up and she was still wearing her Halloween costume, which is like the original Wanda costume. A lot of people, and I saw you on Twitter and a couple other people, some guy said that there's like a lot of sexual overtones on WandaVision.
I just tweeted that photo. I said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Scott? I think his name's Scott Wampler or something.
Yeah. And is there? I never noticed this being a particularly sexy show, or like
there's lots of like talk, especially in that first and second episode. There's lots of talks of them getting it on because it's like they're gonna have kids.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think people are just want to say that and say they saw that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they'll find like undertones and thing, and they'll like there's movies and stuff you find out years later, and one of them be like they released some. It was like movies that are queer characters, right? And
right.
And there's some that are like super obvious.
Yeah.
And then there's some you're like, what? And then you go back and you think about it, and you're like, yeah, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
I felt the same way watching Hollywood Squares growing up, because apparently
that's Center Square. I don't know. The guy was a little.
I had no clue. Only years later did I.
He was a confirmed bachelor, is what they
I reevaluated the jokes, and I was like, I see.
That's why my mom said he was flamboyant.
Right. Yes.
I was always like when I was a kid, my mom would be like, he's flamboyant. And
yeah.
I'd be like, Liberace was flamboyant. I'd be like, oh. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Oh, Lindsey Graham was flamboyant. I got you.
But I never saw the sexual I mean, aside from like the obvious, like Agnes always kind of had jokes about her and her husband.
Well, she's supposed to be like the goofy neighbor. Yeah. She's the guy. She like literally is the guy from Three's Company. The guy Larry, is that his name? Like the shitty friend of the main character. Yeah. Larry, that guy was awesome.
Yeah.
She's literally playing like the oversexed neighbor or undersexed, whatever you want to call it. She always, it's like a joke about her husband, or they always have like, it's like Norm on Cheers. You hear about Vera. These are all classic sitcom tropes. Like she keeps talking about her husband Harry, I think, right? She's like, I gotta get on Harry.
Ralph, I thought.
What? Ralph.
Was it Ralph? Yeah.
And it's like, I gotta get on the Ralph or he'll be whatever. And it's always some like, she's like the oversexed character. Like that's the joke. Like they show her in the Malcolm in the Middle, like in the theme song, when she's like bending over and she's wearing like rhinestone pants, there's naughty on her butt.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. There's like, I watched the thing, I think it was like on Screen Crush. It was like all the hints that were dropped that here's a big spoiler if you guys know. Agnes might, as far as we know, still like I think at least two more episodes left.
Yep.
But Agnes is revealed to be the bad guy. We kind of saw this coming. I don't think she's the bad guy, but it's like one of these like badly kept secrets. We all knew that she was. Well, I don't know if everyone did. I did because I overpay attention to this stuff.
Right.
But Agnes is really Agatha Harkness.
Yes.
Who is a witch character from the Marvel comics. And like I said, she goes back all the way to like the late 60s. She was introduced as, we talked about this in the last episode of the podcast. We talked about episode 1 through 4. You could find it.
Yeah.
And she was the nanny for Franklin Richards. I made a joke saying, how come it has 4 inches to find a normal fucking person? Why does the nanny have to be a witch that dates all the way back to the Salem witch trials? Seems a little weird. And we talked about how, maybe background checks. Especially when you're Mr. Fantastic. You'd think Mr. Fantastic would do a better job of background check, but, I guess I don't know. He has other more important things to do.
You did. He was distracted building Herbie. You were
the robot. I'm busy building Herbie.
Not now. Sue, just hire the next one who walks through the door.
That's what. There's a ancient old lady with like question has lightning coming out of her. I don't care.
The purple mist trailing behind her. So you had said that last episode we did, where you said that Agnes is actually Agatha Harkness.
And it makes sense.
It did.
Agatha Harkness. Right. Take out the G heart, and it's Agnes.
Well, it's weird because you saw, Agnes was clearly like, aside from Wanda and Vision, Agnes was the most prominent character, up to a point, within that hex world. And there was some, not evidence, but there was like some evidence that she was in on it to some extent. Like she was the one where Wanda just stopped pretending that she didn't have powers around Agnes, and Vision was like, "You're not even trying to hide it." And Wanda's like, "Agnes doesn't realize, I mean, she doesn't know." And that did seem weird, like, oh, Agnes is now just kind of in the middle of it and part of this weird power world.
Agnes from day one was constantly pushing Scarlet Witch to do all kinds of things. One, she was like kind of pushing her to have kids.
Yeah.
Trying to push her to use her powers, trying to push her to like when they go to that thing and meet Dottie. Her character kind of went to the background. Dottie, I thought she would be a more prominent.
Yeah, me too.
The last episode was like the first time I saw her in like a long time. It's the scene when Monica Rambeau breaks back into the reality.
Yeah.
And you see Dottie just kind of doing the garden or whatever. But there's all these rumors, and one of the rumors is that she's playing, and maybe it will be revealed that this town maybe has lots of characters that are magic based, but she's playing a because they're saying there's some elements from the 12-issue. There's the Scarlet Witch and Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries that came out in the mid-'80s. It was a 12-issue miniseries, and supposedly some of the plot lines are coming from that in the show.
Okay, that makes sense.
One of the villains that shows up in it is a Thor villain, actually, that has not shown up in Thor yet, and probably will eventually. The Enchantress.
Yes, we talked about that last episode too.
And I mean, it's like, the first movie focused on Loki. Maybe the second movie they should have brought her in. Third one, you had Hela, so it probably would have been too much to bring Enchantress in. So this might be the perfect way to work this character in, is through a TV series and then have her show up in Thor and everything. And she's she's just like, I don't really honestly know a lot about this character. It's kind of funny. I know of her. I've seen her in the comics, but I didn't read a lot of Thor when I was younger.
Sure, yeah.
And I just know she's a bad lady.
Yeah.
Not a bad lady, a bad lady.
I remember when I was young, I used to get Marvel trading cards, like baseball cards.
Oh my God, those things are going for like stupid money now.
Oh, I'll bet. And I had a ton of them. And this
really
would have been in the mid 70s is probably.
Oh, that's different. Okay, no, these are different. Okay.
No, these were like the mid 70s. Some of them were probably earlier because I got a lot of them secondhand and stuff. None of them were in great shape, and I like flipped through them all the time. Anyway, if I remember right, Enchantress had a card, and she was like super pretty. That was like
she's supposed to be this very pretty character. The actress they got is pretty, so I could see her playing that character.
Yeah.
And she's just she like tempts Thor.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. It is kind of a weird setup. You've said a couple times that you think Agatha's not the big bad guy, but
I think she's manipulating Scarlet Witch for her own cause, but I don't think she's like the main bad guy. I think there's more. I think they're going to reveal, because there's like a villain supposedly in what is it, the Multiverse of Madness. Supposedly the villain is a Doctor Strange character who's showed up in other things named Nightmare.
All right.
And he create Nightmare, someone who's kind of can like create scenarios supposedly that could like make your world into a nightmare, literally.
Yeah.
And the Scarlet Witch thing is like an alternate reality, so it kind of could play into this character, what's going on. And they could reveal that Agatha Harkness is actually protecting Wanda from this guy.
Yeah.
It's possible. Other rumors were going around was that the main bad guy was going to be Mephisto.
I've heard this.
But there's all kinds of weird issues with Mephisto because you can't have a devil character in China, which I find really hard to believe. But you can't. There's some things that just will not ever get made because of things like that.
Right.
And I know some people have issues with China, and
Sure.
I myself never had an issue with them until this moment.
Right.
You do not listen here, China, as our former president used to say, right. China.
Well,
spelled Gyna, Gina.
well,
He would say, "How
I
dare
noticed
they
that is
take
true.
away my Mephisto?"
What was the fly? Now, at the end of the last episode, I heard a bunch of people talking about the end of episode 7, and a lot of people saying that maybe it meant Mephisto is coming, and a lot of people were talking about a fly. Now, do you remember this
It
scene?
wasn't a fly. It looked like a
What was
cicada
that?
or something.
Okay, yeah, but
It was on the
is,
curtains.
what's
There
the
was a
significance of that? Do you know?
I have no clue. And then the rabbits, kind of weird. The rabbits showed up. That's when, because Agatha in the episode 7, Scarlet Witch is like losing control of reality or her reality. Things are
even more so.
They show the sons playing video games, and it's like they're playing it, but it's like the more current game is now an N64 that it turns into like
Atari 2600, yeah,
and they're like, what the hell's going on? Like the house is changing, the sets, like how the 70, like my wife watches it with me, the WandaVision, she liked the staircase in the 70s, so we saw that again, and the staircase came back, and I as much as I like those staircases, I could just feel myself dying on them.
Like, the floating staircase. Yeah,
I could just see myself just slipping and dying.
I can't imagine those were ever. They seem up to code, like
so unsafe. Like we went into was it like a Frank Lloyd house or whatever?
Oh yeah, Frank Lloyd, right?
Yeah, we went into one of those, and it had those stairs, and I was just like, I would never feel safe in this home.
That's funny, yeah.
I feel like I would fall and die.
I went to a college. I didn't attend there, but I visited there in Florida, and Frank Lloyd Wright did all the architecture for the college. And it's like a bizarre Christian school. It's like a pretty conservative Christian school. And the architecture did look kind of deadly. So at the end, like a lot happens.
Staircase that look like if you're wearing the wrong socks, you're just wrong shoes, or
hallway is essentially like a 1 foot wide tightrope type device, like suspended over broken glass. There at the end, a lot happened. Like the kids, Agatha says, I'm going to take the kids, and Wanda's like, oh good, I'm glad you are, because I need a break. And then the kids go with Wanda, and all this time the little mind reader kid, the one that has Wanda's powers.
Yeah, that's the mage character. Yeah, that's the guy who's going to grow up to be mage.
He's saying like, my head hurts because I just hear all these people talking, and I as a viewer am like, oh, he just doesn't know how to control his powers yet. He's reading minds. It's all like chaotic. But then he's like, I like you, Agnes, because you're quiet. Like I don't hear anything inside your head, which is like real weird and creepy. And then Agnes has this pet rabbit named Scratchy, and I don't know much about the Agatha Harkness character, but she had a son called Nick Scratch.
There's a cat, I thought she has.
I thought she was having, I thought she was holding a rabbit.
She is holding a rabbit, but in the comics she has a cat.
Oh, okay. Well, in the comics, I think she has a human son named Nick Scratch, and the bunny in the show is called Scratch.
Well, and then maybe the bunny is actually Pietro.
That's what I was thinking, is that
her son. Yeah. Because in the end of the episode, so if you watched episode 7, this was the first episode to have an after credit scene, I think, right? None of them had after credit scenes until this one.
They would have like little scenes, like in a few of them, I forget which episode it was, but they had the credits, and then you saw like a girl's hand move a control panel or something. You'd have like
okay, that was in the first episode, but that's how the episode ended. That's not it didn't. I'm talking about little after credits.
Yeah, no, you're right.
This was the first one to actually have one, and that's when Monica Rambeau is snooping around the house. And that's when the guy, Peter's character shows up, and it's like he doesn't look like Pietro anymore.
Right.
And clearly he's playing a different character, or something else is going on. Who the fuck knows? And so it is possible. So it's revealed that, well, one of the big scene reveals too, it almost like if the show was on TV, it'd be perfect for a commercial. Because the 7th episode is kind of like a joke on The Office. Like even the theme song sounded like The Office theme song.
Yeah, for sure.
You said Modern Family too, but Modern Family was kind of the same. It followed the same format.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec also, where they would make it look like it was being a documentary being filmed about them.
But it was super officey. You're right. I mean,
right. Well, I mean, yeah, the theme song was definitely The Office. I mean, like,
yeah.
And she's being interviewed, and then like she's talking, and then you hear this like weird deep voice saying like, isn't it your fault or something, Wanda? And she's like,
yeah,
you're not supposed to talk or something. And that's when you knew something was off. So yeah, she goes to visit. She goes to try to find her kids. She goes to Agnes's house and notices it's very different from everything else. Almost like she has no control over this. Yo Gabba Gabba is on the TV. Now, I don't know if Yo Gabba Gabba is on the TV, meaning that, like, representing that Disney now owns Yo Gabba Gabba. No, I don't think they do. That's a Nick Jr. thing. But that one, it's because this series takes place in, like, early, mid-2000s, like, this season, like whenever The Office, I would say it's like, let's say this episode is supposed to be like 2009 or something, 2008.
Right.
Yo Gabba Gabba was on a lot. So I don't, or does Yo Gabba Gabba being on the TV represent that this is that Agnes is not, her house is actually not part of that. It's shielded from the reality altering.
It's real. Like her house is the real world.
Her house exists in the real world, while Scarlet Witch's everything else doesn't. And I think, and that's when she goes into the basement, and that's when it's revealed. She sees this book that always looked, this like
Necronomicon-ish.
Yeah, it's some book in the comics. It's like so funny how like anything that happens in this series, there's like all these speculators just waiting with their stack of comics, like, well, this, not even joking, this book shows up in, this first appeared in Werewolf by Night at issue 42 in 1974. I'm not joking. That's real.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the thing, and a guy brought it up, and now I'm looking for it. Because it's going to be worth billions.
Right?
Oh, my God. You need Bitcoin when you have Werewolf by Night. His favorite. Werewolf by Night, Actually, it was kind of cool. But 70s comic covers are amazing, actually. I really am fond of them. There's something about them. So that's when it's revealed. Agnes shows up. She's all sunshine, and it's like almost like a new, like, remember in Iron Man when in the end of it, the best scene that leads to the entire Marvel universe, when Nick Fury shows up.
Yeah,
you think you're the only superhero?
That was a great
part
scene.
of a bigger universe. And then he shows him the Avengers thing. That is actually really similar to Wanda, because she says to Wanda, Agatha Harkness, she goes, hello, nice to meet you for the first time. I'm Agatha Harkness.
Yeah.
And she goes, you think you're the only one with magic. It's literally mirrors. It literally is the same, almost the same exact scene. Like, we are opening up the door to other magical characters. Now, obviously, we had Doctor Strange and stuff, but like there are lots of other magical characters in the Marvel universe that we're not explored yet. And it could open the door to that. It just kind of mirrors that. It's kind of a cool, I noticed, I'm like watching, like, and that's why I'm like, I don't think she's like the bad guy. I think they do play it. The song is so awesome.
It's hilarious.
There's this, when it kind of ends with, after she says her name and everything, nice to meet you, and she's like, what the fuck's going on? That's when it kicks in, and you see a weird cloud with like a weird witch costume. You only see partial, and then it changes, and that's when you see Agnes for the first time wearing the dress, she like winking, and then it shows all the scenes from throughout her like manipulating things. Like in the second episode, she's doing some magic thing. The third episode's she's they show her that one neighbor who was like cutting the fence. She's manipulating him, and then her on the lawn just drinking wine. You see Pietro that scene, and then we didn't get to this yet, but the scene where Vision talks to her thinking that she was catatonic. There's a scene, people screenshotted the scene of Catherine Hahn. She makes this really weird, like, where she's in the car, she's looking at the camera, so everything's always like he, and she makes this really fucking funny face that like I could send you the screenshot. It's so funny of her like kind of looking at the camera like, yeah, like Vision has no idea what's going on.
Oh, that's funny.
It's really funny face. Like they'll have to post it on our YSGOAT.
Yeah.
And then I love it too. And they show like, and I killed the dog.
Yeah. Well, that was like, this kind of like silly, but like that kind of leads me to believe that she's legitimately a bad guy. Like a good guy wouldn't kill a dog.
But then maybe it was a bad dog.
Well, that could be. So I always
like I'm looking at my dog right now.
If you
he pees on everything.
If you assume that someone is trying to rebuild Vision, and get Vision back in line and use Vision as a weapon.
But that's the other guy.
Right.
That's the guy from Sword.
Yeah. But if you think that's the case, then you obviously want Wanda to like literally resurrect Vision, like bring him back to like full life.
She stole Vision.
Yeah.
They were trying to build it and she stole him. And then that's when all this started. And, it's kind of funny. Let me just get out of the way. That song was good. The
was really great.
Song. Like, it was like the Munsters. Not Addams. People always saying Addams. I'm like, no, not Addams Family.
No, it's more like bouncy and
totally Munsters. The Addams Family theme song sucks, actually. Like, as much as I like the Addams Family, Munsters is a much better theme song.
Yeah, it's got like a 60s groove to it.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Too. The Munsters just like doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, it's iconic, but it's not like a great song. It's just
that Agatha Harkness song was so good. I listened to it like way too many times. If you see me with grooving in the car singing, that's just me singing the Agatha Harkness song on loop for 6 hours. There's something wrong with me. It's such a good song.
It really is. But it is a great song. I thought Agatha, because like early on, they make it clear like you can't bring dead shit back to life. That's a cardinal rule in life. You can't bring if you bring shit back to life, there's terrible consequences.
Well, it's because in Endgame, they bring that up. They say like I guess the blip, no one really ever died.
Right.
Thanos just like made it like they never existed. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what it was. He just like they just evaporated, but they never actually like died because like when Hulk tries to bring everybody, like he says, like I tried bringing back Black Widow, I tried bringing back Vision, I couldn't. It's like they wouldn't let me, and also the writers will like.
Yeah. But like I thought Agnes, when Agnes killed the dog, she was tempting Wanda to bring the dog back to life.
Well,
like if you do this,
shocked. No, I don't think she knew that because the kid says, bring it back to life. You can do that or something. And Agnes is like, you can do that? Like, I literally think Agatha Harkness did not know that.
That could be.
That this is like a new thing. But the thing is, I don't know if it's like Vision is not really alive. He's a robot. So it's like, it's a weird thing. It's like his character is strange because it's like he was powered by the Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
And also like they called him like a synthezoid.
Yeah.
It's like made of vibranium. There's like a lot going on. In the comics, let me tell you, we think the movie is like so it's kind of cool. Like Jarvis in the comics was just like a fat pudgy butler.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mansion. And I think, and it's fine. One of the things they did was they changed Jarvis into an AI.
Right. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of a pudgy butler. As funny as that would, great as would,
that would have been hilarious. Yeah.
I heard they would have gotten Nathan Lane to play him, something, like something stupid like that.
Right.
They got Paul Bettany to do the voice, and he did the voice of him up until Age of Ultron. And it's kind of cool. He got to be Ultron in it. He got to be Vision. And Ultron was trying to constantly make new bodies, and Vision was supposed to be Ultron's final body, like the perfect, like
the pinnacle, yeah.
Human looking form, but like also more powerful. And in the comics, though, Vision is it's very confusing. I think it still has something to do with Ultron, but it involves this guy Wonder Man. It involves like all these like factors. Never understood it. But
yeah.
Vision's killed in the comics also, and I don't know what like happens like Scarlet Witch brings him back, or whatever. But like she's not able to bring back his actual memories because and the WandaVision show kind of follows that too, because he has no memory
right
before this event that's going on in WandaVision. Like he's talking, he meets up with Darcy. Darcy gets sucked into the one of the best scenes was Vision trying to break out of the
that was heartbreaking,
and you realize he can't, because if he did, he would die, because clearly the reality, he only really truly exists in this reality, alive at least, or whatever he thinks he is. And Wanda finds out that he's dying or something, and she makes the world bigger. And it's kind
to
of
like rescue him.
I love it. Like everyone's trying to escape, and then people get sucked in. They're all of a sudden now circus clowns and everything. It's like really ridiculous. But I love how they almost snuck in an F-bomb into the show, because you see Darcy was like handcuffed, and she's just like, "Oh fuck!" That was awesome. Like that's the closest thing you're gonna get to a "fuck you" on Disney Plus.
Disney.
Did you ever see? Speaking of, you remember the movie Splash? I think we might have talked about this
with Daryl Hannah and Tom Hanks. Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I'm watching it, and I watched the original version. When she when she jumps into the ocean, you see her bare ass, but you don't just see her ass. You see her cooch too. Just a little.
I did not realize that.
It's like in the beginning of Jaws. Remember we watched Jaws?
Yeah.
I was watching. I was like, holy shit, this woman's like
right. That was
like that's she's funny. Like, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess Jaws was rated. Was it rated R? Or
I think it was PG. I remember seeing that as a kid, and the first R movie I saw was Alien, and I saw Jaws before I saw Alien.
Splash, I always thought was like a kids movie, and it kind of is. But you see her butt for a bit, and you see her cooch.
Wow, that's weird.
Like not like the camera went on her, and like all of a sudden, Booger from Engineers, we got Bush. That movie aged well, right?
It really aged.
You can recommend that to anyone. No one.
I'll bet you.
No one will say it. What?
I'll bet you that movie is horrendous now.
It's so it's got to be. It probably again aged like a fine bleach.
Yeah. Well, why do you think like when you were just
hold on, Disney Plus covered up?
Did they?
They covered up her butt and the just slight impression of her cooch. What they did was they just added more hair.
Oh, nice.
But it looks so bad. It looked like they just took a clone brush and just it's like, okay, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay. Yeah, what were you saying?
Remember, and we were just talking about the scene. Remember when Vision ran into Wanda? I mean, it ran into Agnes, and it looked like she was kind of mesmerized. And then she snapped out of it, and she's like, "Oh, you're with the Avengers," and like, but you're dead. And then she's like, "We're all doomed," or something like that. What was the point behind that scene then? If Agnes really was kind of in control and knowledgeable about everything, what was she trying to do there?
That that isn't, because in the you would think like, okay, maybe she's a prisoner there too, or something's going on. But like I said, when the theme song for Agnes Harkness, and they show her talking, that she's like looking at the camera like, hey, I'm fucking with them.
Right.
She clearly is manipulating Vision to, I don't know, become more independent and to fight with, because then they're not together. I have no idea. Scar, then it's easier for her to take advantage of Wanda's character.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, because like, I don't know, something about that scene doesn't. I think there's more to that scene than what I understand currently. Just like I think like the dog getting killed, like there's got to be more to that than just that. You know what I mean? Like
the dog, like there's no explanation for the dog.
Yeah,
the dog, like it's like this fun little scene when the kids are like little and they're just bathing a dog in a sink, and Wanda, of course, falls in love with it immediately. It's like really funny. It's like a cheesy sitcom.
Right.
And then the dog died, but you found out that Agatha killed. Do you know what's funny on Instagram on Marvel's page for Disney, whatever they were playing the entire song because it's like a minute long, so it fit.
Yeah.
They edited out the part where she says, "I killed the dog," so it's like the whole song, and then it just gets quiet for like 3 seconds, and then it just goes to her going, and it ends, and you're just like, I'm like, are you kidding? Fucking Instagram's like, yeah, we can't put there'll be so many morons on commenting, how can you kill a dog? You can't kill a dog. Like, people are so weird about, like, you could blow up like a nerd.
Right.
Like 1,000 people in a movie, and people wouldn't even blink an eye. But if that dog died in that bomb, that there would be people who would like lose their shit.
I wonder if it's like, like whenever, like, let's say we're watching a real sitcom and the kid's dog dies, people at home would be like, well, why did they have to kill off the dog? I wonder if Agnes is like the they. Like, I wonder if she's like obviously, like, this is a show and there's a showrunner. You know how they're broadcasting a show out there? There's someone making these creative decisions. I wonder if Agatha is supposed to be like the showrunner.
Well, they kind of show that when she's the one doing the interviewing in those scenes, those office homage scenes.
Right.
They show that she's the one asking the questions. She's the one doing that. Like, the best is when Vision is talking to Darcy in the car, but then all of a sudden they're doing scenes where he's outside the van and he's talking. And then there's the great part when he realizes, he's like, what the fuck am I doing? And
right, and he just flies away.
Like, wait, what is going on there? He realizes the whole thing, like, they're just being manipulated. Like, it
almost had like a Truman Show quality to it, like.
Well, he's like becomes aware after like episode 2. He's starting to become aware that like something's off. But the thing is, he doesn't know. He doesn't really have a memory before this. He didn't know who the Avengers were. He didn't know that. He learns from Darcy what happened. She's explaining to him about like, and I forget we were watching the show. I don't know if my wife or something would talk about it, and she was like, how the hell would she know this stuff? And I said, I'm like, well, think about like Endgame or Infinity War.
Yeah.
Imagine like 9/11. There was probably like people broadcasting that fight of Thanos killing Vision. Like, there was people like fucking.
I'm sure. Yeah, that was like a widely reported on and told story. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd been so cool. I mean, it would have been frightening knowing that a 9-foot purple monster could.
Sure.
If you thought QAnon was bad now, like, my God.
Yeah, it is.
There would be like there would be a Thanos cult. There would be like, there would be. There'd be like people who like worship Thanos and would say Thanos.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Trump would have given him the Congressional Medal of Freedom or something, or Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Oh, me? Right. Oh, thank you. I didn't know I was getting it. I'm so surprised. Thanos heads.
Ron DeSantis orders the flags at half staff after the Avengers finally kill him. It would have been.
After Thor cut his head off.
Yeah.
But I said, like, it makes sense if you think about it. I'm like, yeah, of course she would know. Darcy's also like, she's not an actual civilian. I mean, she was friends with Thor.
Yeah. She has much more wherewithal than the average person. Well, it is weird. There's 2 episodes left. I'm assuming they're both going to be like 40 minutes. Maybe the last one might be a little longer. They're at an inflection point now, obviously, where like Vision knows what's up. We saw Monica kind of being confronted by maybe Pietro, maybe something else. We saw Wanda being confronted by Agnes. The kids are kind of in Agnes's,
we don't know where they are now, actually.
The kids?
Yeah.
But they're like technically in Agnes's custody or control, or she was the last one with them. So there's like a lot happening, and it feels like we're going to get a breakneck speed 2-part, like basically a 2-part episode where the episode 8 leads right into episode 9. And I think you're right. I think we're going to have the reveal of a bigger bad. We're going to figure out Agnes's agenda, whether it's like completely evil or maybe good to some extent.
Where they call those things like lawful good.
Yeah.
But there's another word. Not what's the other good? Like,
well, there's chaotic good and lawful good and neutral good, right?
I would say it might be revealed that Agatha is chaotic good.
Yeah.
And so here, because her character is not. I don't think she was ever really like a villain. I could see her maybe being like in an antagonist role, but at the end of the day, she's not a villain. And they're setting up what's his face, the guy from Sword, as the bad guy, because I just want to talk about a couple of things before we wrap the episode, because we didn't really talk about him. One of the funniest things is, I guess for years they were trying to put Vision back together or whatever, get them to serve their purposes or whatever. And the name of it was like Cataract or something.
Oh, jeez. Nice.
Isn't that funny? Like Vision.
And then Cataract.
But isn't like they said like cataracts, like it clouds the vision?
Yeah. Nice. I like it.
And his character, what's his name?
I don't know. You're talking about the head of Sword, who is kind of a shitty guy.
I mean, he's like, I don't know. It's funny. I don't see him as like this uber villain. I think until they reveal, I mean, I think the fact that they kind of revealed that like he wants Vision for nefarious things that are maybe not good. But, you know, you could he can make the argument and say like, hey, you know, we were attacked by a 9-foot purple monster and took over half the reality. Of course, I'm going to be a little bit on edge, especially because he didn't blip out. That's the thing. They show that he tries to explain that to Monica Rambeau's character. Like, those 5 years were awful. And she kind of tries to downplay it. But I would imagine those 5 years were awful. Especially if it's like the people who wake up, they got to wake up to a reality that they're 5 years later.
Right. Well, is this guy
lived for 5 years? They're going to be fucked up.
Is the Sword director Tyler Hayward, played by Josh Stamberg?
Yeah, Tyler Hayward. Now, there's a character called the Executioner, and everyone keeps thinking that this guy's going to show up. He's kind of a silly character who I think he's like Wonder Man's brother or something.
Okay.
And no, what's his? It's not the Executioner. Hold on.
The Executor? Does he?
No, executive assistant. His name is. No, hold on. I'm gonna find it.
The electrician.
Yeah. The electric bill.
Well, he seems like a bad guy to me, but he also seems like he's probably one of those doing it for the good of humanity,
right, that's what I mean. It's like, but then they do that, and then you realize like well, maybe it's not really for the good of humanity, it's more to serve his nefarious purpose. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I'm trying to find this villain. You gotta give me a second.
Well, so you're thinking that this director of Sword is secretly a villain, like a superpowered villain?
I'm trying to get his name. Yeah, he's like a supervillain, and he's like the villain in the comics, but it's kind of like, Agent Wu. I realized that he's the guy from Agents of Atlas.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, duh, that's his name. So like, if this guy's name is that character, then he's playing that villain basically. Hold on, I got it right here. Give me 1 sec. All right, I found that the character's name is Grim Reaper. He's he's like an Avengers villain, but he was like a big part of like the Vision Scarlet Witch miniseries. And he's also like the brother of a character named Wonder Man, and Wonder Man's in the comics is connected to Vision now, and that's why it's like always been confusing.
Right.
Everyone kept on thinking that guy Tyler is actually the Grim Reaper, or will be revealed to be the Grim Reaper character. But his name is Eric Williams, so I don't think that's the case.
It could be an assumed name. Like he could be, I don't know, villain. So
you thought my name was Tyler, but it's actually Eric Williams. Like, oh my God,
well, it could be.
What a big reveal. Oh my God.
I don't know. I still think that the big missing pieces to me are the things that are probably going to lead to the real story here. Like, who is Pietro? What was that cicada or whatever that bug was on the window? I mean, there's probably some clues out there that are going to pan out to be, oh, this is what was happening. You know, we saw the clues. We didn't know what they meant at the time. This is what's happening.
And yeah, and the thing with Monica, one of the big things in this show was like, you know, and especially in episode 4, we learned how Monica Rambeau's character, which was Geraldine in the WandaVision universe, but she revealed herself to Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch basically kicked her out of the world.
Yeah.
But did it gently. But Darcy brings up and says, well, you went through it twice already because you went in and then you were kicked out, that your DNA and everything is being altered every time this happens. And if you go in again, you're going to be changed. And in the 7th episode, she goes in. She tries there's like a sequence where she tries to go in this like special vehicle. It's kind of cool. Right. Vehicle, like it's kicked out, and like half of it is literally just like a shitty truck.
Yes.
Which I have a feeling probably brought the value down of that vehicle. It's a little bit. I think it went from being like a $600 million car to $30. So
the whole explanation was kind of cool. It was that if something goes into the zone, it's simply rewritten. You know, like the same, it doesn't lose any mass or material or anything like that. But at a molecular level, it gets kind of like gene spliced into something appropriate for the decade in which the hex happens to be in at the time.
So she breaks into, you know, when they show, they explain that like her outfit that she wore on the show, even though she wears multiple outfits, but I guess every decade, because basically they just go to bed and they wake up and they're wearing new outfits. And it's like, and that's when Vision starts to realize, especially in that 6th episode, when he comes down in like the goofy costume,
right?
He's talking to Scarlet Witch, like, okay, now don't get in trouble. Don't do anything. And he basically goes out and do it to investigate. But in our world, or I guess the MCU world, Geraldine reveals how, Monica Rambeau reveals how her outfit, how it gets rewritten, but it's still the same. They shoot at it. Her whole outfit basically became a Kevlar suit. Like she was wearing Kevlar, and the outfit, the pant, like the 70s clothes that she was wearing, and when she got
was all just that original Kevlar.
Yeah, which is like crazy. I feel like it would weigh a lot, but that doesn't matter. It's a comic book. Don't think about it.
Right.
But I like when she decides, fuck it, I'm just going in. They're like, don't do it. And then she's like, she's changed. And it's cool. She kind of sees the world like what it is or something. Like everything was like this weird purple.
She didn't see like, oh yeah, actually you're right. It was purple. I didn't think about that at the time, but the electrical wires were giving off a purple mist, but that was the same purple mist that was like prevalent in Agatha's house.
And that's why it's possible that it's not Scarlet Witch that's doing any of this. That it is Agatha. Now, it is my prediction now, and it's cool. And then the Monica Rambeau gets into a little tussle with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And then she tells her, like, I don't know, she fucking kicks her out of the way, and that's when Agnes takes her, and that's when that all gets revealed. But I do like the whole. I think, and they haven't really revealed yet exactly what her powers are, and a lot of people are like, it's kind of cool. That's how she got her powers, and it's like, is this how mutants are going to come about? But her character in the comics is not a mutant.
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't think they have figured that out yet.
No.
Or they're planting the seeds for that in this series. I don't think that'll be the big reveal will happen here, but maybe some of the seeds that this show will lead to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That was going to say. Yeah. Well, maybe it is Agatha Harkness that's doing all this, and it really isn't Scarlet Witch that's in control. She's making Scarlet Witch seem like she's in charge. And here's the other thing too. They say if you pay attention in the beginning of the show, you know, when she goes WandaVision, and like in the first episode, it's like bursting with energy, You're watching last week on WandaVision. It's like really, it's
Happy, yeah.
Yeah, yep. And then by like the fourth episode, it starts to get a little like more serious. And then by the fifth, sixth, and I was thinking maybe like, oh well, TV's changing. It's
Sure.
like, it's more serious drama. But no, that's not what's going on. She's being drained of her power.
Huh.
That Agatha is collecting her power in that book and everything. That like that's why when it's like, you know, she wakes up and she's hung over, even though she didn't drink.
Right.
She's hung over. And
and in the last few episodes, she's just lethargic and she just wants to watch TV. Yeah.
In the last one, she's just like, and that's what they're saying, and that's why in like even the last one, like on the last WandaVision,
right?
The great the next one is like,
oh, that's funny. Yeah, I might go back and watch some of those openings again, but I'll bet you're right. That makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm curious what they'll reveal. Maybe next week's episode will be like kind of like a big like who is Agatha Harkness. Maybe they'll reveal. And like I said, if it goes by with the comics, her character goes back to like the what is the Salem witch trial. Like her character's supposed to be hundreds of years old. Now, it is funny. Like one of the last things I like too about the show is like when Vision's trying to explore a town, and the further he gets out, he sees people just like doing really limited things to the point they're doing nothing. And it makes me think of like open world video games like that, where it's
right.
Characters just kind of like NPC characters and don't really do much. They're not integral to the plot. You don't interact with them at all to the point where there's like nothing. There's no one around.
Yeah. So I play a lot of video games, and it is super weird. Like if you think about it, like if you sneak up on a bad guy who's like guarding an outpost, they just stand there motionless, and then they might walk 4 feet to the left, 4 feet to the right. And it's just like it's weird because like they do such a good job of like portraying realness, but they can't do it. You
can't break the story. There's still a guide storyline, and that character isn't activated until like the sixth chapter or stage or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Because you're like, all right, I'm here. Let's fight.
Right. But until you like take enough steps forward, until you fall in their sight line, like I don't know. I'm thinking of Skyrim, that Elder Scrolls game, and like you'll sneak up on someone, and they'll just be like standing there, and you wonder, like it takes you out of the game for a moment because you're like, this motherfucker would be standing there for like 7 months if you let him. You know, he just like stare off.
Agatha Harkness's character, like some of the weird reveals, and that's why it's like, well, what exactly is really going on? The episode makes the song in the episode 7 makes you think that like Agatha Harkness is in control of everything, but maybe that again, that's just part of the show.
Yeah,
strong reveal that she really isn't 100% in charge either, because like in that episode when they're still babies, she shows up and like she kind of breaks script for a second.
Yeah.
That's when Scarlet Witch is like really confused. Like, oh, you want me to like do that again?
Right.
And she's like, what the hell is going on? Or like, when Vision is exploring, he's starting to go to the outreaches of the town and he sees her car and she's just sitting there.
Right.
And it's like, did she like try driving and it got to the point where she drove too far that like she had no agency anymore or anything, or she, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's outside of Scarlet Witch's like reach, because there's a scene where like Scarlet Witch fights with Vision and she's like, I don't know, I don't control, you think I control everything, what everybody's doing, people going to the post, like, and maybe she is, because as Vision gets further away from their house, the people have very limited what they can do. There's like that woman on the clothing line just moving her arm, and he's like,
oh geez,
it starts getting really creepy. And but who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. What's your prediction?
I don't know. I do think that there is a puppet master behind the scenes. I think that Agatha may be a free agent here, and kind of not knowing what she's gotten herself into. She just happened to notice this anomaly and swooped in to see what advantage she could gain. or she could be working in league with this bigger bad. But I do think that there's a bigger bad. I don't think it's Mephisto, although I like that kind of character.
I just think they have an issue with it being Mephisto because of the whole. I'm like, it would just be China. I can imagine a lot of places being like, well, I find that so weird. Like, I don't know. I want to look that up. Like,
I could have seen it being who's Doctor Strange's villain, Dormammu.
Yeah. I want to strike a bargain with you, Dormammu.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if there's like a Doctor Strange angle here. But I don't know. That's kind of where my head's going at with this. What do you think?
This is my prediction.
Yeah.
We will enjoy it.
Yeah.
It'll have a satisfying episode.
Yeah.
Followed by hopefully a satisfying conclusion.
I like
it. Therefore, wanting to ingest more Marvel Disney products.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, man, they knocked it. Look, when this was first advertised, WandaVision, it did not look like anything I was super interested in. I was going to give it a shot because Marvel has a weird way of putting things together that I wouldn't think I'd like, that I turn out to like a whole bunch. But I was like, man, there are so many other stories I'd rather hear than this one. And this has just turned out to be such a great show.
I'll be honest, really good. I liked it from the start. I'm not shocked, though, that people were complaining.
Me too.
I just find it really funny. I will say this is probably, it's like any other show cannot get away with this.
Yeah.
Any other show cannot get away with putting out 2 bizarre episodes and then having it, all of a sudden pick up on like the 3rd or 4th episode. And then all of a sudden everyone, it just would never happen. But because it's Marvel, and I mean, these characters, they know that too. They're like, as risky as it is, it's like, hey, first of all, this is the first new Marvel content you've got in over a year.
Yep.
And more than a year, like a year and a half. And this is the first like phase 4. This is the first Disney Plus show. They got you. People will say they hate it. Yeah. They're going to watch it. It's like those morons who claim they got rid of their Disney Plus because they fired Gina Carano. Bullshit. I call bullshit on all those people. They are fucking lying.
For sure. Yeah.
That Boba Fett show is on next year or later in the year or like Winter Soldier or whatever's on, they're going to be back in a second. They are lying liars. They're fucking lying. And who cares if they're gone anyway? I mean, it's risky. It's a huge property. It's like, I'm going to watch it anyway. I'm going to watch it. It's Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it had that built-in goodwill. They could afford more than most shows to have 2 weird episodes. Disney bought a whole season. It's not like some shows where they only buy the first 9 episodes and you got to do well.
To perform.
Yeah, before you can get the tail order of the episodes. So it had all of those advantages. I love it that it was so weird and quirky and kind of audacious, and it made the viewers kind of work for it and everything. I liked it. It's just a great show. I'm really excited to see where they're going to take the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's really funny how it went from being a show where people were like treated like this is garbage, I don't like it, I don't know what this is, to now being like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'd be curious to see. I'm sure like Disney could keep track of how many streams were given. I wonder if people do wind up rewatching this, if they'll skip the first 2 episodes, even though the first 2 episodes are great, they're really, really good. It's just a lot of people we talked about this the last time we talked about WandaVision. A lot of people aren't used to the pacing of those old shows. They aren't used to the black and white. They aren't used to the jokes. They aren't used to all those sorts of things. And WandaVision did a great job of kind of emulating those.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like the 4th episode took place mostly in the MCU part.
Yep.
I think that's probably why everyone liked it too.
Yeah, probably.
And also, what's her face is an awesome character, and so is Agent Wu. He's an awesome character too. And those first 2 episodes, I could see people being like, I don't need to rewatch those. But you know, again, if you rewatch if they reveal something more and more, you know, you can look back at clues and it's like, oh shit, they actually revealed a lot.
It was there,
the
whole time.
There. It was all along. Oh my god, it's evil. It is the most evil song ever made.
It's a good one.
Whoever made it, you don't. It's great because like you don't see that stuff anymore.
No.
That was great. Like I love the Malcolm in the Middle type song.
Yep.
The Growing Pains ones was awful. Whatever the one making with the portraits and everything. The Family Ties one.
I read that. Who's the woman from Bikini Kill? Is it Hannah something?
Oh shit! What about her?
I think she sang on one of those. I think she sang on the Malcolm in the Middle one.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah. I could totally see that makes total sense. That song was awesome. I do like the best part about the Family Ties ones when they show them as kids. And Vision as a baby was like the fucking funniest thing. A baby. So there's some real, you know, for every asshole that says the Marvel movies are all cookie cutter and whatever, which I call bullshit on.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Yeah.
Sorry, I totally disagree. Yeah, fuck you. No, like, fine, you could say like, do they follow similar like structures where like there's a villain and a hero? Yeah, sure, you can say that literally about everything.
Yeah,
but to try to reduce all the Marvel movies as they are the same, I call bullshit. I think I think you're trying to make an argument, and you're probably one of those weird Schneider bots.
Well, yeah, it's just. I mean, of course, they have a formula, but they're all different. They just have completely different vibes and different energy. They actually, a lot of them are in different genres. Like some are sci-fi, some are like espionage, some are straight up superhero. I mean, they're very different.
Yeah, like Winter Soldier is very different from like a lot of the other movies.
Well, like Iron Man's kind of an action movie, and Winter Soldier is kind of a 70s espionage movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy is a straight up sci-fi movie. And I mean, they're just, a lot of them are just very different, you know, I mean.
But like WandaVision's like just sets up like something totally different. And I guess it is great. And it is good with the series that they can do crazy shit. Like that Loki show is probably going to be insane.
Oh, I'll bet that's going to be great.
I'm looking for that one. It's like there's some weird shit going on there. I think there's like some like he goes in and out of time from what I saw in the trailer. I saw a new trailer of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm looking forward to that.
That looks fun. Good. Yeah, that looks like, I don't know if I'm going to love it, but I'm definitely going to watch it, and I bet you I do wind up liking it a whole bunch.
I think it'll be good if they have like good villains in it. Like, and I do like some of the setup, and they, you know, and they show them play off each other, especially in like Civil War. They play off each other, so they have like good like buddy cop.
Right. Going. That's what I'm thinking.
But this show is just different, and like I said, I think it's great. I'm glad like it should like just put to bed that whole bullshit argument that like Marvel movies are McDonald's.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, yeah, sure, I guess. I guess WandaVision's that new weird item that like doesn't last long on the menu.
Right.
Spaghetti? You ever see that? You ever see like in other countries and you're just like, right. You ever get a hot dog at McDonald's?
No, and I don't have a real clear recollection of them. I know they did, but I don't have a good recollection of them.
I don't think they did by me. I just remember as a kid being like, yeah, I want a hot dog. And I'd be like, fuck. Like they go in the back, it's like the hot dog it's been sitting. or they had like breakfast burritos.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember a lot of like weird McDonald's food. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. All right.
Well, on that, so I'm super psyched. I'm sure we missed some stuff. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Can only go in too much depth. I mean, I don't know what else. I'm excited. Can't wait. I will say the one funny thing about this last episode was, especially with everything going on by us with the weather and everything.
Yeah.
I watch it when it premieres here at 2 a.m.
Right.
And Disney Plus crashed.
Oh shoot!
It crashed.
Yeah, you're right.
On Twitter and everything. it's crazy how many people watched it that at that time. I mean, it's like midnight in New York.
Sure.
Not a big deal, but like no, I'm sorry. In New York, it's 3 a.m. It airs. They wait till California time for midnight. So those fuckers.
California's midnight.
Yeah, those
people.
Just
2 for us.
Yeah, and 3 in New York. You know, there's people up like watch it all over the world, and it's crazy. It didn't work. I remember I had to like re-sign in. I had to make a new password. What happened here? Fucking, you know what? It was probably QAnon. There was like people like it trending on Twitter, like what the fuck? And, like it's a great like that's how many people are on it. Like there's got to be like I'm curious. There's got to be millions of people and I bet you every episode that they come out,
it ramps up.
It ramps up. So who knows? It'll probably happen again next week. They're like, shit, we have to like make sure that like we can put on. I remember when Disney Plus premiered it, the whole first day.
Oh yeah,
it didn't work.
Right.
People were complaining. They said it didn't work. That's. I mean, don't you think? Isn't that crazy about like streaming services when you think about that? They are streaming.
Oh
4K plus quality images.
That's crazy.
To your like. When you think about that, right? It's like we grew up with like VCRs and like standard television and shit. Like, and we're getting like, wow. All right. Well, I'm just thinking about that. All right. Well, I'm just gonna go now. Just try to understand this devil magic that is being transmitted through my so easily. Or as far as I know, I'm sure it's
as far as you know.
There's a lot of hamsters and wheels. A lot of hamsters and wheels that are moving to get us to watch these shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you rewind it, the hamster's like, oh, fuck.
Running backwards.
Yeah. Poor hamster. All right. Well, on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.